Hey everyone, my guest today is Andrea Maier. Andrea is a very well-known longevity advocate and speaker. She's working at the Center of Healthy Longevity in Singapore to help Singapore to deal with their demographic shift of people getting older. She also recently founded a longevity clinic in Singapore where she really tries to bring all that we've learned about longevity into practice. This means that they don't wait for disease to be present, but rather they focus on early testing and early intervention. We talked today in preparation for Zala City, which is a pop-up city happening in the middle of Berlin. What is a pop-up city? A pop-up city, that means that longevity enthusiasts, so investors, entrepreneurs, founders, engineers that want to work on aging, that would like to solve this, come together and live and co-work together for 6 weeks, some also for shorter periods. And yeah, every weekend we have a summit. And in one of those summits, Professor Andrea Maier is going to join. So now enjoy my conversation with Andrea Maier. Hey Andrea, what person, discovery or idea in the longevity space gets less attention than it deserves?
That's a quite easy answer. That biological age can already be measured. Every general physician, every family medicine physician could in principle already measure your biological age if you would visit that GP. And that's absolutely not implemented. I think it's a mischance and we should work on that.
Yeah. If the GPs would start using this, like what is the actual use of them knowing my biological age? Like if it's 2 years better or 2 years worse, like what would they use it for?
So most importantly is that you, at younger ages, you already know where you are hunting for, what your biological age is. Very importantly, in medical practice, we always see snapshots. So a patient comes and comes again and comes again every year. Very often we do not track that individuals. We are not looking at the entire story, but we are looking at snapshots. And actually the story and the snapshots terminology was brought in by a dear colleague of mine, Dean Ho, who is doing lots of studies around NS1 studies and really improving the methodologies around how we do randomized controlled trials. So we should track ourselves. And if you would know today that you would be 2 years younger compared to your chronological age, now, first of all, have a smile on your face because you're younger compared to your chronological age. But secondly, you would love to know that in a year time, you are 4 years younger. And a year later, you are 5 years younger. So tracking means that you have grip on your risk of age-related diseases and mortality.
But if we just use like the overall, like general aging clocks, can we actually derive like useful insights for lifestyle changes out of them, or will it still always be the same? Because like, as I learned it, it's just like mainly what we do now is like exercise, sleep, and eat well.
Okay, sleep, exercising well, and diet might not be very sexy, but these are the most important ingredients to live longer. We already know that lifestyle has a huge potential to increase health span and lifespan. And it's not about following the WHO guidelines, which means how many steps should you take? 10,000. What is healthy food? Maybe Mediterranean diet, not eating processed food. Most importantly is now that we can individualize these advice towards the needs of individuals. So how many fibers should you eat based on your gut microbiome? What kind of microbes should we actually stimulate to grow in your body, in your gut? And what is the food that microbe, for example, needs? So it's not about the normal guidelines. We all should do that's the basis, but how to individualize it towards your needs based on your genome, based on what you would like to achieve. And then it becomes super interesting and the most potent tool.
Maybe let me reformulate the question that I asked. So how would those general aging clocks help us to personalize treatment for people?
Yeah, so there are no general aging clocks. So we have specific clocks. We don't have very general ones. So even if you're looking at epigenetic clocks, so while looking at the genome and looking at methylation sites on top of it, and then looking at the patterns that has been summarized as methylation clocks, they are not general. Like they are very specific because they are looking at the methadone of that person. We have blood clocks. They're only looking at the blood. We have heart clocks, we have brain clocks, we have kidney clocks, we have so many clocks. So in the end is the understanding as a physician, or that's what we implement into clinical practice, how is that person aging specifically? So which means, what is the brain doing? What is the heart doing? What is the epigenome? What is the expression? And then bringing that together as a composite to say, okay, in general, that person is X amount of years older or younger, but you will not accept of very general guidelines, do something with it, because you have to specifically then looking at the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, or at the microbiome, at the epigenome. And these are all specific targets for interventions.
Okay. I was like also referring to, like, if my GP would calculate my chronological age by measuring, for example, my blood pressure and like doing a blood test, like what would this number be useful for?
Okay, so we established the organ-specific clocks based on clinical parameters. So think about the lung function, think about the breathing rate, think about the pulse, the blood pressure, think about pulse width velocity. So these are either for the lung or it's for the heart. So these parameters then together combined with the algorithms we established, they predict the onset of a disease in that organ, for example, COPD or heart failure, etc., in healthy individuals. That's important. But they also, if they are combined, so you're using all the clinical parameters and we are putting them into the body clock, so the overarching clock, this is also predictive for the incidence of a disease and mortality. So what can you do while knowing that the blood pressure contributes to that higher risk of an age-related disease, for example, hypertension? We know that with certain exercises, with diet, we can lower the blood pressure, which means that therewith you also reduce the risk of a certain disease. So in that's, I think, the beauty that we don't have to wait until we have the stem cell therapies all being in phase 3 studies, or we have the exosome therapies, or we are all cryonauts in the end. It's not needed, because if we are just looking at our normal physiology, how much visceral fat somebody has, what the strength is, what the blood pressure is, that already helps to be able to optimize the body.
Okay, thank you. Where does your personal approach to longevity, or also your approach in research, differ from most other people in the longevity field?
So let me answer first the research I'm doing and how different that is. I'm using the tools which we should use. So think about randomized control trial, think about machine learning, AI, etc. So everybody's using the same. I think what we do differently is the target population. We are very interested in individuals who are aging at the moment and who are not yet aged. So what does it mean? Middle-aged individuals, think about 25 to 60. That's super interesting to intervene in these age groups. I'm a geriatrician, an internal medicine specialist. As geriatrician, I would normally include 80 or 90-year-olds. So I left that behind and now really focusing on much younger populations to see how we can optimize their health and to create an environment where age-related diseases are the past. As an individual, I would say I really love life and I enjoy life. I track myself. I know my biological ages. Sometimes I do not act because that's how I am. I don't think that my approaches are very different, except of that I only do evidence-based things to my own body. Very importantly is that if I implement something in research, I always ask myself, would you, as a person, so I, participate myself in the trial? If I would say no, I would never do the trial.
I really like that. Do you think that there is a limit how much we humans can increase health or lifespan?
Yes, I'm not very interested in lifespan, if I'm very honest. The lifespan is a side effect of increasing health span. I want to feel good now. And
I agree.
if that is also associated, if I still feel good now, often in 5 years, if that's associated with a prolonged life, I would be very, very happy. I sign for that. If you're looking at data out of epidemiological studies, it's very easy from a normal person making an optimal person, for example, just with diet, from normal diet to optimal diet, to increase the lifespan by a couple of years, maybe even 10 years. If you add on an optimal physical activity regime, if you are optimally sleep, if you're adding supplements, if you're adding, if you want, repurposed drugs, I think, yeah, the sky is the limit, while also having in mind that new therapeutics will come to optimize then the aging process. I think for me, it's not really relevant. Is it 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? I think we are now. What can we do now? And that's what I really want to implement, whatever we can do now, which is evidence-based, into clinical practice. So expose people to the reality and opportunities.
What, in your opinion, is the biggest bottleneck in the longevity field right now that definitely needs to be solved so we can make progress towards increasing human health span?
The greatest bottleneck is our pace of how we do things.
Okay, elaborate.
Yeah, it's if I look at the research community, we are all very enthusiastic, but I am already a couple of years, nearly 20 years or more than 20 years in this research community. And I think what we do is very, very nice, but it's small steps. Small steps, lots of animal studies. And 10 years ago, we did not really translate much into humans. That's now occurring, which is great. But I think we waited too long to translate it into humans. And if I look at the randomized controlled trials or trials with a very good methodology, these are small. And what we should do is big studies, decentralized studies, trial networks to include individuals fast, having good surrogate markers where in 4 or 5 months after starting of the intervention is we see a signal, and just do it because we have the methodology, we have out of other specialities of medical practice, we have the methodologies like how to do randomized control trials, how to decentralize it, what to measure. We just have to now apply it. That's a bottleneck, that we do not do that yet. So our pace, but there's absolute, I think, the emphasis now to get our act together.
Why do you think is that not done?
I think because our field, even if you don't feel that this is the case, is very, very, very small. If you compare the longevity fields to other fields like oncology, endocrinology, understanding how one organ works, like the pancreas, and how islands work to not having diabetes in the end. There are so many more researchers than looking at the huge complex aging phenomenon where we are looking at. So we are very tiny in terms of the number of enthusiasts. And I think, and this is a challenge, but also a huge opportunity. Of course, many people who are not yet in the research field, but are approaching us as customers, they bring so much excitement because they see, hey, I am aging, I want products, and that's a huge push. And that is a opportunity, absolutely, but it's also a challenge because if we don't have the pace of bringing new results to the table and evidence-based therapeutics, then people will just do whatever they think is good and is available. And that's the reason why so many non-scientific practices are at the moment in, for example, longevity medicine clinics. And that's a huge, I think, risk.
What do you think is the role of pop-up cities or network states, like, for example, Zella City, for our progress in the longevity field?
It's great, very nice initiative. So congratulations on establishing that. It absolutely is a piece in the puzzle because you are bringing enthusiasts together. You are bringing that enthusiasm to to that location, to others, and hopefully lots of neighbors will ask, okay, hey, what are you doing, guys? So there's I think a huge enthusiasm, and there is hopefully much education. I think what we have to establish is a sustainable way how to do things, because this pop up will also pop down because it's up and down. So I think we should really utilize these kind of approaches as an enabler to maintain and to increase the education level, and there was the enthusiasm. So yeah, well done, let's do it, but let's maintain it.
Yeah. To also increase the number of people in the field, definitely.
Yes.
Do you already know what you're going to talk about in Zelocity?
First of all, I will bring enthusiasm. I will bring the latest excitement of what precision geromedicine is. So I will explain the new term, precision geromedicine. And I will hugely talk about gerodiagnostics and gerotherapeutics and how they should align. It's a little bit talking about dating between the diagnostics and the therapeutics and what that would mean for the future of healthcare.
Excited for that. Do you have an opinion, or what is your opinion on decentralized science within the movement of longevity?
Yeah, I already mentioned decentralized trials, so I'm with you. So we are establishing trials which are now mixed, which means centralized and decentralized. We are working with big software companies to decentralize our trials, because that's the future. Like, why don't we capture all the data of the individuals they would like to donate to make sense out of it? Why don't we have the registries already? Registries of individuals who are seeking help of health and longevity medicine physicians, but also registries of individuals who just want to sign up and say, hey, I'm donating the data that you track me and making sense out of me. And why not learning from a little bit more noisy data? Noise is nice. I love noise. I love variability. Understanding the noise, I think, is a complicated part. But let's do it.
Yes. What do you use to stay up to date in the longevity field?
I think I go to many conferences. I read lots. Like I wake up and say, okay, who posted what? What can I look at PubMed? But what I really learn from is, because everybody can read and everybody can talk, what I love to do and learn from is talk to my clients or patients to really what kind of ideas they have. I think the learning is there, because whatever is published, I can read, everybody can digest. I think it's the one-on-one interactions with aging individuals who are seeking help to then put it into context. And that's the reason why, as a researcher, I really want to stay always to be a physician, to have that one-on-one interaction, because then I know if it's meaningful or not.
You mentioned that you're going to a lot of conferences, and you're also well connected in the longevity field. So who are like one or two people in the longevity field that you really look up to, which works you would like to highlight?
Nice question. I would like to highlight the youngsters. So we have talent incubators in Singapore. We are selecting in our view, most talented, most enthusiastic younger individuals who are at the early stage of the career, and they are coming up with so bright ideas. Look, of course, we are looking up to the colleagues who are publishing again in Nature Medicine or in Science or whatever. Hey, that's what we don't have to do. That's our job. I think the real excitement comes from the newcomers in the field, who have big eyes and looking at us like, really? Have you thought about it differently? And who come with enthusiasm, who really want to drive the field. And that's what we need. So we need talent with enthusiasm, just thinking from inside to outside the box to really shake up the field. So
Yes, thank you. What maybe counterintuitive thing have you learned about aging and longevity in your years of working in the field?
The greatest aha effects I had a couple of years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, where we were analyzing data from the UK Biobank of only healthy individuals, and we wanted to establish this clinical clock. And I said, geez, our organs inside of our body within one individual, they are aging so differently in terms of their pace. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would say, okay, you are aging with that pace, another person is aging with that pace. But then we discovered that it's not so much the inter-individual variation in pace between you and me, but it's also within a body. And then looking a little bit deeper, that within our body, a different pace, okay, can have a different pace of aging, but also the mechanisms are different within our body, which makes it even more complicated. So it's the pace within and the mechanisms between the organs within one individual. And that's super fascinating. I said, "Shoo, this is really something," which also means that there are lots of challenges, of course, to do interventions, because we need not only a cocktail, but also the frequency and the timing, and what is the weakest link within the body needs to be determined. So it's more complicated than I thought.
Well, like most of the things, yeah. What advice would you give young, driven individuals that are coming up, like the people you already talked about, that want to work in the longevity industry and that want to make progress towards increasing human health span?
Okay, come to Berlin and to the pop-up city. No, really follow the movement. Most importantly, if you're starting your career, learn what you do with proper methodology. So keep your enthusiasm, keep your smile on your face, but still learn how to sort of drive. You need a driver's license. So learn how to do proper research. So therewith, join a team who learned in the past how to do proper research without losing your enthusiasm. Very important. So find that group, find a mentor, and go for it. And do not see limits. Very often I see youngsters say, okay, can I do this and this? Like, come on, these are tiny steps. Think big, please. Like, think big and do small. But do not think small and do smaller. It should be big and start learning how to crawl, start learning how to walk, and then run, and then jump.
Thank you a lot, Andrea. Very looking forward to seeing you at Zeller. And yeah, have a good day.
Thank you.
So this is my conversation with Andrea Maier. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Here, you'll find another video of me interviewing Hans May, who is working closely together with Andrea. Relevant links to everything are in the description, including the link to Zala City. If you want to come to Berlin and hang out with me or Andrea, you can still sign up. Bye bye.